After the worst day of violence that Ukraine has seen since independence from the Soviet Union, this is the scene in central Kiev tonight. Police searchlight probing through the black smoke of the burning barricades, trying to pick out protesters in the square. On the stage, which the protesters still hold, priests saying prayers, and between them and the lines of the police, these burning black tires which we've seen.
The President of the committee, Malosse, who is with us, he traveled to Kiev last December. President Malosse, who has always felt a special affinity for Central and Eastern Europe, he traveled there in the 70s and in the 80s, where half of the continent was behind the Iron Curtain. So President Malosse traveled to Kiev to get first-hand experience and news of the situation on the ground, and this is where he met civil society representatives, government representatives, etc. And this is where he met Ruslana and Alexei Honcharuk, whom he has invited to come to Brussels. Ruslana is one of the leaders of the Maidan protests in Kiev, singer, winner of the Eurovision 2004 contest, but he's also the main coordinator of the recently created Council of All Ukrainian Maidan Square, which is a non-political, non-governmental organization in Ukraine.
And it's very clear to us that the only plan Yanukovych has for his preservation, for the preservation of his power, is the annihilation of Maidan.
І він робив це зі студентами 30 листопада.
He did it, he proved it, while attacking the students on the 30th of November.
Коли вони були зацікавлені у жорстокому побитті простих дівчат, які спали, а хлопці молоді співали гімн України. Їм був потрібен цей символ, щоб розлютити людей.
They wanted to infuriate simple students who were actually
дівчата, girls.
During the night. It was the girls were sleeping, the boys were singing different songs.
On Maidan.
And this violent, this inhuman beating was just aimed to infuriate the public.
Я ще тоді задумалася, чому вони так зробили, щоб весь світ побачив цю кров і цю жорстокість.
I was even wondering myself, why did they have to do it in the limelight? Because the whole world was watching the cruelty.
А тепер я хочу звернутися до Європи і попросити вас.
And now I want to address Europeans and with one request.
Допоможіть зупинити диктатуру в Україні.
Please help us to stop dictatorship in Ukraine.
Нам потрібні у будь-якій формі санкції.
We need sanctions in any form.
Нам потрібна група підтримки в Європейському парламенті.
We need a special support group in the European Parliament.
Нам потрібні сміливі європейські політики, які доведуть, що європейські закони працюють.
We need to find some decisive politicians who will prove that European values work.
Ми віримо в європейські цінності і тому боремося 2 місяці за них.
We believe in European values and we fight for them already for 2 months.
Європа, допоможи зупинити диктатуру.
Europe, please help us to stop dictatorship.
Debate on what our common values, how we could develop cooperation, how we could even see compatibility between the trade agreements with the European Union on one side and with Russia on the other side, to make it compatible, not to make it opposite. Because if we continue to make it opposition, we'll have a big problem and disturbance, pressure, and it will come to nowhere. Because I think the Ukrainian economy is weak in this time, they are in difficulties, so they need probably support the European Union, but they still need the energy coming from Russia and strong links with Russia. So we have to work on that. So this is in brief what I could say.
Thank you
very much for coming.
Now it's open for questions.
Can I start, President? Thank you for that introduction. I heard you.
You're from?
Sorry, Randall Calvin, EU reporter for Gizmo.
Yeah. Thank you.
I saw you speak very passionately when Ruslana attended just recently. Yeah.
Yes, this was last
week. The Charlemagne, it was excellent presentation. I saw you
2 weeks ago, yeah.
No, really, when you spoke with passion, I remember what you said. You said, Kiev is burning, and you see it as Europe and that. But you surprised me and pleased me at the same time when you said, well, when we present these things to Council, there's no comment. So notwithstanding, I mean, for me, that is a line, the Council. And I think that's for political expediency, but also because of lack of engagement from European citizens. And while I admire your initiative and this committee's initiative, if you don't have that engagement, across a pan-European level, even from member states, while they see it as a tragic event of an emerging, democratic situation, and there will be a lot of good feeling, notwithstanding economic ties and political promises, that there is no appetite. You see what happened in Syria. It doesn't matter how dramatic it's, I think if you cannot engage people. As for a relationship, as for this, a deepening of relations and dialogue with Ukraine, there is a question coming here, I promise, but I have to explain out my case. It's just that the elephant in the room, you said a post-Soviet situation. Okay? Vladimir Putin is the elephant in the room, would you not agree? That man is he's nostalgic about the former Soviet Union. He sees it as a terrible loss. He's on record on that. And finally, when you're dealing with the people, like in Russia, okay, who have no history of democracy, we'll take the whole sort of global area, the Soviet Union, former Ukraine. Think of this, they have, under the Tsars, under the Bolsheviks, they had no democracy, and now we expect them to feel they see Putin, or indeed in Ukraine, they see them as strong people. If Putin, insults the West, they see him as a strong man. So my question: how are you going to bridge that gap? How are you going to engage to fulfill these promises that we're making?
I will tell you one story. When we met a mayor from a municipality last week in Kiev, he was the same who held the European flag. He was telling us that we had a twinning with a Polish city, and in his council he has some persons of a committee of a party of a region from Yanukovych party. We are very reluctant to develop this contact with Poland because the European Union is our enemy and so on. But they decide to come together. They visit the Polish city. When they come back, person of a party region told him, "Oh, now we change our mind. Now we understand that these people were very friendly, were not aggressive at all. They seem to have a quite higher standard of living than ours. I think it's a good idea to get more in contact." So I think by connecting the people, you can change the situation. I don't agree totally with you on your comment on Mr. Putin. I'm not a fan of Mr. Putin, although some people here in this committee thinks that it is stupidity. This is a primitive view. But I think it's much more complex what you describe. I was last year invited by the Russian government to speak with young people in Russia in the Zeliger Forum. It's a gathering of young people. Organized by Mr. Putin party, now by the government. I was speaking in a town, named Alexander Solzhenitsyn. This was organized by the Russian government. So it's not nostalgia of the Soviet Union. I don't think that we can say that Alexander Solzhenitsyn was, whatever you think, he was not nostalgic of the Soviet Union. He was one of the main persons who make the fall of the Soviet Union himself. So I don't think it's so black and white. And I think that we have to talk with people, including people from Russia. There are some Russians on the Maidan fighting for democratic rights. Among the 6 deaths, there's one young Belarusian. But Belarusian is the dictatorship. But not all Belarusians supported that. Not all the Russians supported the way of Mr. Putin is acting. It's more ambiguous and more complex like that. And whether we engage the civil society, the direct links with the people, will come to some, I think, better understanding.
I don't want to know, I really have to say though,
no.
My fundamental question is, how do you teach people? How do you teach? Yes, you're bleeding on the other side. Oh my God. How do you teach people a tradition of democracy I mean, I come from Britain, we have a 400-year-old tradition of democracy, good or bad. How do you teach people democracy? It's the same in the Arab Spring situation. How do you teach them in such a rapid way, even with incentives of economy, or whatever, culture, cross-trade? It's still, how do you teach them democracy when they've never had it?
I think that we have common values. You know, I give you one example. You know what is the most famous writer in France among young people? It's Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
And you know who is the most famous writer for the Russian? It's Victor Hugo. So we have common values. We have common, how history is common. Of course we have British nation is very proud. They don't want to be told that to say one to extend, and French too. So this is the way we are building the European Union.
Yeah.
But concretely tomorrow we have it, not tomorrow, in the next days we will have a tunnel be reopened, assembly. You can come and take photos.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you need pictures or follow-up materials, we have it, and the people are here to help you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Let's have